Hi guys, today in my ranking series we're going to be ranking the Child's Play franchise. In this franchise there are 7 movies in total, so let's get cracking. In at number 7 is Seed of Chucky. This is the one movie in the franchise that I've actually only seen once, and the only reason I watched it is to do this review. I really avoided this movie for obvious reasons because I don't like the slapstick Chucky at all, and that's why I avoided it basically. And when I did watch it, all my expectations were met because this movie was actually terrible. I think at times the movie tried to be a little too clever with the whole Jennifer Tilly scenario, being Jennifer Tilly in the movie. It was quite quirky in a way, but overall it's not something that we'll need to see in a Chucky franchise. Or why do we need to see a Jennifer Tilly and a Tiffany? I just don't understand that. For the franchise, it's no point in doing that. I wasn't a huge fan of Tiffany from the get-go. I was just a fan of one doll taking over one boy, and that was it. The one doll, we already knew the backstory of Charles Lee Ray. Why expand it even more? I think it's good the way it is, and to bring in Tiffany, it's just, it was a bad idea. And to top off the bad storyline and the bad effects in this movie, you've also got a group of really bad actors as well. You've got rappers, you've got singers. It just doesn't mesh well at all. And then lastly, with the Seed of Chucky, the biggest issue that I had, that Chucky and Tiffany had a baby doll. I mean, having Tiffany in there was already far-fetched, but the reason this is in my number 7 spot is because of their son. Now, I'm all for them growing the franchise, but this is just not the way to go at all. Now, out of the 7 movies, Seed of Chucky is actually the only movie that I hated. The other ones are actually okay and really good, but this is the one movie I hated, and I'll never watch it again.
That's my boy.
Now at number 6 is Bride of Chucky from 1998. Now, I do like this movie, even though it's got a lot of the bad traits that Seed of Chucky has. Seed of Chucky went that a little bit further, and very annoying as it was. Bride of Chucky was also similarly as annoying as Seed of Chucky, but it kept it enclosed in a way. It was the first introduction to Tiffany, so we weren't really sure how far they were going to take it at that point in time, so it was acceptable in a way to introduce that character. But the comedy aspect that they brought into it, especially with the first 3 movies being really dark and scary, it was a brave new life for the Chucky franchise again in a way, but it wasn't the way that I personally wanted it to go. I wanted them to keep it at their horror, and it's something that they just didn't do right. Now, I'm torn with the cast in this movie as well. You've got one of the worst actresses in Hollywood right now, Katherine Heigl, in the movie, and she's equally annoying in this movie as she is in her future movies. But then you've got one of the most loved actors of all time as well, which is John Ritter, and he's excellent in this movie. I love John Ritter's comedy, and I love his seriousness in his roles as well. And to put the two of them together was a bit of a funny mesh. I mean, you didn't know whether to enjoy scenes with the two of them in it or hate scenes with the two of them in it. I sort of like the new look of Chucky in this one in a way as well, when his face is all bashed up, and I do like some of the kills in this movie as well. Some of them are very creative, and I'll give the movie props for that. One thing that the movie looks like it was trying to do is kind of latch on to the slasher phase from the late 90s as well. You can see that it's got that slasher look to it. I know that Chucky originally was a kind of slasher movie anyway, but this seems to be going the kind of teen slasher with when you've got Katherine Heigl and her boyfriend in it as well. So it went that kind of route, which isn't a bad thing because that was what was trending at the time. So they went with it. Overall, I liked the movie. I liked the feeling of this movie being as a late 90s horror slasher movie. So I liked the feeling of it, but I just didn't like the direction that they went in. So I was kind of torn with Bride of Chucky. It's a lot better than Seed of Chucky, but it is one of the weaker ones in the franchise. Now sadly, in at number 5 is Cult of Chucky, which is the latest in the franchise. I really had high hopes for this movie because I did like Curse of Chucky, so I was hoping that they were going to keep that continuation going, and they did with the feel and some of the characters in this film, but they just went a route that I really didn't like. As mentioned in Seed of Chucky, you only need one doll, and what I found in this movie with more than one Chucky doll, I just found that very annoying and repetitive from what they'd done in Seed of Chucky and Bride of Chucky. There was a little bit more comedy in this one, but it seems like, I did do a review for this one, it seems like the director or the cinematographer or whoever it was that made this movie, they're very artistic, and I think the artistic style for this movie was not needed. Again, it was a direction that they never went in before. You had all white walls and everything was pristine in this mental institution, and it just looked like an art film at times. It was very creative, like I said, at moments, but the creative point of this movie took over from the actual Chucky side of things as well, if you know what I mean. It just didn't mesh well together. For years in the Chucky franchise, Chucky was finding it difficult to take over a human being, and that lasted for years and years, and sequels and sequels. In this movie, he manages to do it numerous times. It's very, very easy for them to do and to recreate this voodoo spell that was going on. And again, it was as if they're just slapping all the other movies before it in the face to say, yeah, you guys were all doing it wrong, we can just do it whenever we want. And again, I know they're trying to continue with the franchise, but it's not the way to go. I feel like I have more negatives for this movie than I did for Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky, and the reason for that is because I expected more from Cult of Chucky than I did from Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky. That's what disappoints me most. But the film was well made. It was well acted for the most part. I think that Fiona Dourif gives a great performance again. Alex Vincent was a little stale, as he would be, because he's not a full-time actor anymore, so we can give him some slack for that. So he was a bit off in the movie, but Fiona Dourif was probably what made the movie watchable. I think the ending of this movie was very repetitive as well from what we saw in Cult of Chucky. Cult of Chucky had a surprise ending that everybody loved, and I think they tried to reenact that again with another character. And as much as it was enjoyable to watch and seeing that character come into it, we were thinking, well, you just done that in the last movie, so why do it again? And at number 4 is Child's Play 3. This is the last in the first original trilogy that we had, and a lot of you are probably thinking that's probably the worst movie in the franchise, and I don't agree with you, to be honest. Everybody shits on this movie quite a lot, and I think it brings originality to the series. I think it's a good closure for the first part of the franchise. From Child's Play 1, 2 and 3. Yes, we've got a different Alex Vincent, but we had to get a different Alex Vincent because that kid, he can't really act, he's just a child actor. So you had to bring in somebody else. Was it Justin Whalen or something like that? They brought him in to play Alex, and he's in the military academy. Now this is one of the movies I've not seen as much, but I watched it again for the review. It didn't hold up at all. But what I do like in the movie is Chucky. I like the look, the animatronics in it was fantastic, just as it always is from the first part of the franchise. And I just think that that's what I like about it. It's no CGI, there's no gimmicks like that, it's just pure prosthetics and animatronics. And I think that's why I hold Child's Play 3 a little bit higher than the ones before that. And then number 3 is Curse of Chucky. Now this is the movie in the franchise that reignited the franchise and it made it interesting again. We got rid of the Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky storylines. Those were very, very off. And this Curse of Chucky, when this first came out, a lot of people were thinking, is this a reboot slash remake? Because we didn't have too much information, because it was a video on demand movie, it wasn't theatrically nationwide or anything like that, so we didn't know much about it. Saw a few trailers, but it didn't give much away. But when I first watched this movie, I'm thinking, this is really good. It's quite scary and eerie. In this old house, you get Fiona Dourif that brings a kind of originality again to the series because she's Brad Dourif's daughter. And then we see the backstory that Chucky knows Fiona Dourif's character's mother, so it ties in to the original series, which is great. And I'm thinking to myself, this is getting rid of Tiffany, this is great. Now, what kind of did it for me in the end, for it not being one of the best Chucky movies, is near the end Tiffany gets reintroduced to blah blah blah, and we know that it's a continuation of the full series. So that's a good thing, because it's one of the only horror franchises that's continued without any remakes or reboots. That's a good thing. One thing I did like as well, when we seen Chucky as a standard doll, and then we see that the girls peeling the kind of paint off him, and it reveals Chucky to be the broken up Chucky that we saw from Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky. Although I didn't like the movies, again I still like the originality and the continuation of the story. I think the kills in this movie were very creative as well, just as they are in most Chucky movies, but like I said, they kind of outdid themselves in Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky, bringing back to its horror roots was the best thing to do, and that's the main praise I can give Don Mancini for this movie. And at number 2 is Child's Play, the original, and again, a lot of you are probably thinking that is the best in the series. You might think so yourself. It is a great movie, it's one of my favourite horror movies of all time, but it's just not my favourite in the series. One thing that this movie has over the rest of the movies is originality and a great cast. I love Chris Sarandon as an actor, and I love Tom Holland, who directed the movie as well. I love all his movies like Fright Night. This is a very, very unique movie, and again, when you watch the documentaries and see the images of how they made Chucky and how they had to use him in every scene to just basically use the puppeteers to move him around, it looked like so much work and effort went into this that you have to give this praise. I think that the detective work that Chris Sarandon done in the movie was dated. When you watch it today, you're thinking, how can they not see that this wasn't this person that done that and such and such. I just think that it was kind of lazy in a way, and that may be one of the reasons why it's not my number 1 movie, I don't know, but I think that the first one is exploring Chucky and seeing what he can do, and I think that's a good start for a franchise. And then at number 1 is Child's Play 2. This is the sequel. This is the movie that had to outdo the original, and it did, personally for me, it did outdo the original, and I'll give you the reasons why. I think in this movie the kills were much more creative. Probably the most creative kills in the entire series. I love the factory setting near the end of the movie as well. I love the factory setting at the start of the movie, it's showing you how they made the dolls, and I just love the whole history of Charles Lee Ray, and I like the fact that they brought back Alex again. He's put into a foster home, and Jenny Agutta is the foster mother. I love Jenny Agutta. I loved her from An American Werewolf in London. I like the bond that he has with Kyle in this movie as well. They obviously don't know each other, but they're from the same kind of backgrounds. They don't have parents, etc. And I love how they get together to try and defeat Chucky. One thing I loved about this movie more than the original was the score. They brought the score up a notch. I think they made the score sound a little bit more childlike, like Child's Play basically. And it's very, very creepy, and I love the house that Alex is in as well. The house setting, again, if you're not in the factory, you're in this house, and the house is big. I love the garden, when he's in the garden on the swing. I just think everything about this movie is very creepy, eerie, and when you see children's toys and children's furniture, it's so scary.
Now it's time to play.
So that's my rankings for the Child's Play franchise, guys. Won't be a popular decision for most of you, but I'd like to hear your comments down below. What do you think should be number 1? And let me know what your list is for your Chucky franchise if you've seen them all. Anyway guys, thanks a lot for watching again. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.